Boogie2988 used to be regarded as one of the most beloved content creators on YouTube. Well, the turntables have turned because he is now one of the most hated figures online. And with the year being 2024, that means quite a bit. Boogie's downfall has been occurring over the last couple of years, very slowly, but with the recent revelation that Boogie has been faking cancer and lying about a great many other things, he is now beyond the point of no return, with no other option but to lean into the bad publicity. To truly understand Boogie's reasons for the things that he has done, we have to look deep into his past, all the way back to his childhood. You see, Boogie was born in the mid-70s to a coal mining family, living with his two siblings and parents. Boogie would describe his childhood as full of neglect, poverty, and some other very disturbing things which we will cover later in this video. Fast forward to 2006 and Boogie had already dropped out of college. He was looking for a purpose in life and something to do with his time, settling on making a YouTube channel. I want you to keep in mind that YouTube had only been around for a year at this point, so to say that Boogie was in at the ground level would be an understatement. Because YouTube was not yet paying content creators, Boogie was a web designer as his job to support himself. It would also be around this time that he would develop his love for Magic the Gathering, a trading card game which he still plays to this day. Both his parents were now gone, and he was struggling to find a direction and purpose. Eventually, he would find it with the success of his YouTube channel. The success would be due to a character that Boogie would play named Francis. Francis was your stereotypical angry, overweight nerd. Anytime you beat him in a card game, well, he's gonna flip the table. Anytime you eat his food, you'd better look out.
It's like, there's some Faygo in the fridge, man.
I don't want to eat Faygo! You cure the Faygo! Do you look like I'm thirsty for Faygo? Are you thirsty for Faygo?
Yeah.
Are you thirsty? It's delicious! It's delicious! I don't want Faygo! I want a Mountain Dew! I want my goddamn Mountain Dew! I'm gonna find it. I'm gonna find my goddamn Mountain Dew. Yeah, did you drink my Mountain Dew? Did you drink my Mountain Dew? Let me smell your breath. Let me smell your breath. Oh, you Mountain Dew drinking bitch. Drinking out of a Mountain Dew.
It was everything that Boogie had viewed as toxic about nerd culture. Well, being as this was early YouTube, no one knew that this was a character and assumed that Francis was a completely real person and running the channel. This contributed massively to Boogie's success in his early YouTube career, with many of his Francis videos doing millions of views, receiving shoutouts from creators like Ray William Johnson, who were some of the biggest on the platform around that time, and he was quickly becoming a beloved figure around the internet for his sincere and honest talks with his audience. It seemed like Boogie and his Francis persona could not be stopped. But the man behind the characters, his real name being Stephen Williams, was also on the come up. He would meet a fan of his by the name of Dez, hitting it off with her and eventually getting married. Boogie's career would peak in 2016 when he would win Trending Gamer of the Year at the Game Awards.
And the Trending Gamer, the Game Award goes to Boogie2988. Boogie and I go back many years of jousting and having a great time with each other. There is nobody in this country, in this world, that is more deserving of this trophy, that has done so much to bring games into life. I'm going to give you the microphone in a second.
Right.
Yeah. I've seen you in front of a microphone. Congratulations. You have millions of fans around the world. Say a few words.
Thank you, sir, and thank you, Jeff, for this show, and thank you, everybody, man, that at home and voted for me. Thanks for my wife, who's changed my life and given me something to fight for. And I got to be saying, I got to say, I've been playing video games since a lot of you were before you were born. And if you look at me, like physically, there's not a lot I can do in this world, but the game creators like yours have created worlds that I can explore, worlds that I can accomplish, worlds that I can be a hero in. And I think it's so important for nights like tonight to celebrate the people who create those games that have given us a distraction from the world we live in today, that have given me a distraction at the darkest points of my life. Thank you, guys. Thank you. I mean, the people that make these games, at the end of the day, you're the hero, right? Like, thank you for everything you guys do, and I hope you guys have a wonderful night. Thank you for letting me be part of it. Thank you.
Personally, I think that this was the peak of Boogie's career. He was beloved, recognized, and still watched very heavily by loyal fans. People likened Boogie to the Mr. Rogers of the internet for his upbeat and friendly attitude. I remember a video he posted back in the day where he talked about his finances, saying that he would be set for the rest of his life because YouTube had paid him so much. All of the comments underneath were supportive, some even saying that if it were anyone but this guy, the video would come off as a little bit rude. This was how much people loved Boogie, and the problems would arise when these people realized that Boogie was a character just like Francis. One of the first pieces of controversy Boogie would find himself in would be over his quote-unquote fence-setting takes. Many content creators have gotten flack in the past for not picking a side on certain issues, either remaining vague or trying to see all sides of the situation. And some people would begin to call him out for not really believing in the things that he would say. Keep in mind, the time was 2017 and Boogie was still beloved across the internet, seen as a kind person who would often discuss his tough upbringing. Another thing that Boogie would regularly discuss on the channel would be his plans for weight loss. He had talked for a very long time about getting a gastric bypass surgery because he believed that he could not lose the weight without it. In August of 2017, Boogie would end up receiving this surgery, having a portion of his stomach surgically removed. Even this was not enough to stop his bad eating habits, still eating horribly to this day.
But mark my words, I'm doing the work, I'm following my diet, I'm doing exactly what I'm supposed to do, and when they give me the okay, I'm getting back into the swimming pool, and I'm going to exercise as much as my body will humanly let me. I'm going for the gold. And then that leads me to the question that I hear that hurts me the most, is whether or not I will fail at this. And so many people are so sure that I will fail, whether or not my old eating habits, my old addictions, my old mental issues will kick back in, forcing me to not lose the weight or to regain the weight. And that's a complicated question because I can't see the future. I can tell you we waited to the last possible minute to get this surgery. And the reason we did is because I wanted to do as much work on my emotional state and my mental state as humanly possible and spend years practicing, getting better at controlling what I eat and controlling myself and controlling these issues.
Didn't you just say you don't enjoy the chicken quesadilla?
I'm kind of enjoying one thing about it right now, and it's super up. Do you want to know what the one thing I'm enjoying about it is?
What?
That it's so bad for me. Like, this is what a 400-pound guy does. We eat shitty food. Right? I try not to show you that. I try not to put it on my videos. I try not to post it on my vlogs. But sometimes we eat shitty food. That's how we're 400 pounds.
Accusations of Boogie guilt-tripping his audience would be thrown around, with people realizing just how much he brought up his terrible childhood as an excuse. In response, Boogie would begin to cover his mental health a lot more on the channel, only increasing the accusations of pity farming.
My own career, my own livelihood, my own self-esteem, my own mental health. But Dad is fine. I'm used to being miserable, right? I've been miserable for 45 years. I don't suspect it's going to change anytime soon. I like living regardless of being in pain, regardless of being crazy. But how do I prevent this from hurting other people? If you can help me find a way other than taking my own life, then I would like to do that instead. I don't necessarily want to die yet. I just don't want to hurt people. And I feel like every single day since I was seeing 500 loss of subscribers, 1,000 loss of subscribers, that meant every day that I chose to get out of bed, every day that I chose to wake up, every day that I continued to live was another day that 1,000 people more got hurt. And that was really painful.
The mask was really beginning to slip for Steven. His flawless image around YouTube was now smudged, and with the hype over fake freakout videos fading, so would Boogie's relevance. The decline in viewership and profit put Boogie in a tremendous amount of stress. He was used to everyone across the internet loving him unconditionally. Having that, as well as a steady pace of increasing views, taken away, had to have impacted him. And I think this was one of the many, many things that contributed to Boogie's divorce. Around the end of 2017, Boogie's wife would reveal to him that she no longer wanted to be in a marriage.
My wife was the best relationship of my life. It was some of the best 7 years ever, and we did some amazing things. We traveled the country. We met so many of you guys. We met some of our favorite creators and some of our favorite entertainers, and we loved each other madly. We were madly, madly in love. But beyond the anxiety disorder, she was still dealing with my morbid obesity. She was still dealing with my chronic pain issues, and that stuff is hard enough for me to deal with, you know, but I have no choice. I'm stuck in this brain. I'm stuck in this body. She had a choice, and she made it, and I think she made the right decision. Back towards the middle of October, she told me that she was thinking about separating now that I was out of the surgery and now that I was nice and healthy. We talked about it and decided that she should take a break in November, which she did. She was gone for about 3 weeks, and about 2 weeks into that, she called up and said that she had made her decision, that she wanted things to be a more permanent change, and that we should start moving in that direction. And obviously that hurts because I wanted us to work. I wanted to make it work, but I couldn't argue with the fact that we just weren't working.
Despite Boogie's attempts to fix the situation, the divorce would be finalized, and Boogie would lose what I believe is one of the last constraints he had on his absolutely unhinged personality. His wife Des was one of the only things keeping him grounded still. Without her, the next couple of years would be some of the most destructive in Boogie's life. The cracks would begin to show well before his wife had even moved out of the house. Boogie publicly stated that the divorce was amicable and that they would be continuing forward as good friends. This was all in an attempt to maintain his family-friendly image, because certain conversations between them would lead me to believe this divorce was less than amicable.
We're divorced now, so I don't have to worry about it. But we're in a loop in which my anxiety was so bad that she was kind of walking on eggshells all the time because she was afraid of scaring me, upsetting me, hurting me. And that the way she reacted to my anxiety was very frequently with fight or flight. And for her, that mostly meant fight. So I would become anxious over something. And when I become anxious, I'd become a little angry. I'd become a little edgy.
Capable of doing those things. It's just not a thing I can really do. But whatever. That's fine. Whatever. Was me and my wife's relationship perfect? No. Did we argue from time to time? Yes. I think most couples do. Did I ever stand and scream in her face about, you know, tell her I wish she was fucking dead, or, you know, I don't know.
The sheer depth of Boogie's problems would not be known by the wider public until he appeared on the H3 podcast. He would say a number of controversial things on the podcast that would get him into some controversy, but he would also reveal what he had been up to ever since he and his wife's divorce. Boogie revealed that he had grown quite fond of ladies of the night, and that paying these women for dates was something that he enjoyed very much. At the time, I really thought this was just Boogie trying to flex after his divorce, thinking that this seemed cool. Years later, I would find out that this was all completely true, and Boogie had spent hundreds of thousands on these women. Boogie was growing increasingly unstable. It was no longer in his private life, it was also appearing on camera. The fun and lovable persona that he once had would slip, each time revealing just a little bit more of his true character.
Right? Are your parents still alive by chance?
Here we go. Ready?
Yeah, they are.
And are your parents still together?
No.
Okay, all right. So maybe I should take point then.
What?
Well, if your parents aren't together, then you probably come from a broken home. You're probably going to get real angry when you start losing. So, you know.
I won last game, but that was my first game on.
All right, well, maybe you just learned how to channel that anger. All right, I wish you luck, man, then. Good luck. My parents died.
That sucks.
Yeah, I'm pretty much Batman, so...
These were also the days of controversy for Boogie. He was kicked out of his D&D group for offensive comments he had made online. He was scrutinized for accepting a sponsorship from BetterHelp. And above all else, he was called out for writing off Magic the Gathering cards as business expenses. I'm not a tax expert, but it's definitely some shaky ground. And then, the first big controversy that Boogie would ever find himself in, the Tesla drama. Boogie would purchase a Tesla that he openly stated as being out of his price range, jokingly asking people to pay for it. People were absolutely outraged by this. Boogie requesting money for a luxury item while many were struggling just to make ends meet. Not particularly a good look for the Mr. Rogers of YouTube.
I never bought a Tesla. I put a down payment for a Tesla. I got home, realized I can't afford a $100,000 car payment. No one can afford a $100,000 car. That's a stupid decision. Decided to not get the car. Also, my fans wouldn't pay for it. Nobody would give me $100,000 ruse. So, since none of you guys would cough up $100,000, why are you people so stingy that one of you won't just cut me a check for $100,000?
Boogie would continue to make controversial statements and diminish his reputation. With his channel declining, people were losing interest every day, and it seemed like that would be Boogie's fate, just to slowly fade into obscurity. That is, until there would be a situation that would reignite talks about Boogie, and not in a positive light. Notorious internet troll Frank Hassel locked his sights on Boogie sometime in 2020. Frank had recently been banned from YouTube and blamed Boogie for said ban. After some back and forth online, Frank decided that he would travel to Boogie's home. Frank would actually make good on his word and showed up at Boogie's front door, which prompted Boogie to step outside, brandish a weapon, and fire it once into the air. Frank would leave shortly after, and Boogie would be issued a warrant for aggravated assault. Boogie would turn himself in, with the case eventually being settled with no time served. It may have been a very dark time in Boogie's life, but there was a silver lining. In 2019, Boogie invested heavily into cryptocurrency. He invested right before a big boom and made a substantial amount of money from it, enough for him to make a YouTube video subtly flexing just how much he had made.
I do not recommend anyone else ever do, but it worked. I basically took every dime I had in liquid funds and invested it in a huge gamble. And I did this at the advice of my friend Jesse Ridgway, McJuggernuggets, who guaranteed that money, saying that if the money disappeared, he would help take care of me and help me rebuild. Well, fortunately, the money didn't disappear. And my thought process at the time was, look, even if it does disappear, I can always just go ahead through with my stupid plans. And if I end up making a lot of money, then I can stick around to spend that money or leave it to somebody so that it could do some good, give some of it away, do cool stuff with it. First off, let me say that I'm not a financial advisor. I do not recommend that you do what I did. It was a very stupid, risky maneuver. But I invested pretty much everything I had into cryptocurrency. And I pulled it out a couple of times, and I put it back in a couple of times. So I probably didn't do as well as I could have.
I'm not a very religious man, but I think a Bible quote fits in perfect here. It's from Proverbs 16:18, "Pride goeth before destruction." It's not an Aussie song, it's a reality of Boogie's life. Boogie claimed that with what he had invested into cryptocurrency, he could comfortably live till the end of his days, that no one had to worry about him, and he was basically rich. Well, as I'm sure many of you saw coming, Boogie of course did not pull out of the markets and suffered the consequences, losing way beyond what he had ever made in the first place.
The bad reason is I'm finally in a position where I have to get back to work. And I'm not making any excuses here. You know I spent a tremendous amount of money on dumb things. But the biggest issue is that I had a nice big nest egg. I took some financial advice from a friend, and I'm not pointing fingers necessarily. I took the advice, but I put my money in the crypto market in the wrong section, and I pretty much lost most of everything. That sucks. That really sucks. It is what it is, though. I mean, like, I've come to terms with it, but I need to get back to work. I have some savings, but they're going quickly. And if I don't start live streaming and making content and getting ad revenue and stuff again, I'm going to lose everything.
I believe there aren't really any coincidences in life, that almost everything has a cause and an effect, and we most definitely just witnessed it. Because right after Boogie lost all of his money in crypto, he would begin to claim that he had polycythemia vera, a form of blood cancer. Looking back on it now, we know that this was a lie, but I find the timing of things fascinating. Right after he loses all of his money, bam, that's when he fakes the cancer. But at this point in the timeline, people really thought that Boogie had cancer, stating that it was completely treatable, but he still had cancer.
Well, you remember about 3 weeks back I said that I likely could potentially have a form of cancer? Turns out I got a rare blood cancer called polycythemia vera, which basically makes your body produce too many red blood cells. And when I started taking that testosterone supplement 7 or 8 years ago, however long it's been, we knew that this was a possibility. You never think you're going to be the guy who gets that side effect, though, right? You never think it's going to be you. But sometimes it is. It has to be somebody. But the good news is, I mean, this is a disease that takes a really long time to get you. Statistically speaking, I'll die of a blood clot or a heart attack or a stroke due to one of those blood clots. And most people, after getting diagnosed, live another 20 years. So if you're going to get a cancer, this is the one to get.
Boogie was still fading into irrelevance. He was losing viewers, losing sponsors, and losing friends in his real life, with the only glimmer of hope these days being his scheduled fight with Wings of Redemption. Fellow lolcow Daniel Keem would set up a boxing match between Boogie and Wings, selling it as the heaviest boxing match of all time. Both contestants were given months to train, and would eventually meet in London for the brawl. While it was clear that Wings had actually spent some of his time with a boxing coach, it appeared that Boogie had pocketed his training expenses.
Just patiently waiting. Oh my gosh! Boogie is in trouble.
And they're going for it. And they're going for it.
Don't turn around. Don't turn. Boogie's got to not turn around to the rest.
Boogie's got to get one out. And there we go.
We made it to the second.
He lasted around, right?
Yep.
That's got to be a victory in itself right there.
Ref's gonna call it. Standing 8. There we go. That's the right call there.
Absolutely.
5, 6, 7, 8. There it is. That was the right call from the ref.
Two big things had happened that vaulted Boogie back into relevancy. The first was the fight, which we just saw him get absolutely destroyed in. But the second would be a YouTube documentary released by a channel called Mike Klum. The channel had no previous uploads and nobody knew what to expect. The video was a very professionally done documentary over Boogie's day-to-day life, showing us just how bad things had gotten. The documentary would include him selling his magic cards, searching for a job, and showing off his generally depressed behavior. This documentary would also reveal to me another significant player in this story. It would be Boogie's new girlfriend, another one named Dez. Dez is nearly half the age of Boogie and seems to come from a rough home. For those who have seen the documentary, they are in a couple of scenes together that make me and everyone else very uncomfortable. Boogie has received a lot of controversy for this, but seemingly doesn't care since all of his other buddies are dating chicks half their age too. I'm looking at you, Danny. Speaking of Boogie's new friends, the podcast was in full swing, with Boogie, Wings, Keemstar, and Tommy C HQC interviewing various lolcows, discussing lolcow news. This would be the status quo until around the end of June this year, when everything in Boogie's life would flip on its head. Boogie would take part in a crypto scam currency called Fatty Coin. Boogie made numerous videos over Fatty Coin, prompting his audience to invest in it while putting on this Andrew Tate-like persona. Some people actually bought this coin, and it lost nearly 90% of its value in the first day. Boogie claimed that none of his fans bought the coin, but it appears that some of them did. He was rightly called out for this scam, and promptly deleted all posts about Fatty Coin on his Twitter. And I think this is where Boogie thought that things would end, but the amount of eyes on him would only increase. The Fatty Coin scandal brought into question every aspect of Boogie's life. He had lied so much that people were even beginning to question if he had cancer at all. And during an episode of lolcow Live, Boogie would be confronted on this. In a lineup I personally thought I would never see, XQC, Some Ordinary Gamer, and Mr. Medicare all show up to berate Boogie for lying about his cancer. Numerous inconsistencies in his story had been told, and Boogie refused to show any paperwork. Here is Mr. Medicare, a streamer who actually is suffering from cancer, berating Boogie for his lies.
And this is why this particularly pisses me off, Boogie, so let me try to explain this before we get into it, because you might be wondering, why do I sound somewhat angry about this? Because I'm dying, you fuck. Because I actually have cancer and I'm dying from it. Painfully, you fat piece of shit. And throughout all of that, I haven't screwed my audience. I didn't do a crypto scam, Boogie. I did streams. I collected super chats. I sold chats, Boogie. That's what I did. Oh, is medicine expensive? Is cancer tough? Shit, God, who would know? Oh, well, I would. You think I'm out here streaming because it's fun for me, asshole? I'm in pain every day, Boogie. I'm dying. I stream to make money so my wife has shit for when she puts me in the dirt. So when I see your fat ass crying about you can't afford shit and it's because of cancer and back off and it's acceptable that you do shit like this because you're sick, it's a load of shit to me, buddy.
Lying about cancer. There was no coming back earlier tonight.
You decided you don't want to share. Once you decided you don't want to share, that's when there's no coming back.
Once these motherfuckers went with the narrative that I'm lying about cancer, there was no coming back.
What? How is it a narrative if they have a doubt about it?
Because it's not reality. Because it's not reality.
Show them reality.
Fuck you, no.
For a while, Boogie would adamantly claim that he did have polycythemia vera. He didn't care if anyone believed him and refused to show paperwork. I really thought that this would be the hill that Boogie would die on, that he would continue to claim he had cancer without providing any proof, and using it as an excuse to get away with his shitty behavior like he had been doing for years. But to my shock, and I believe a great many others, he kind of admitted it.
In the video, I was told by my doctor that I have polycythemia vera, and we're treating you for polycythemia vera.
He might have uttered those words, maybe. He might, I'm sure he said polycythemia, maybe. And he might have even said polycythemia vera. He never told you that you had cancer, though.
That's fair. That's true. I had to Google that.
In the aftermath of this, hate for Boogie would reach an all-time high. People were calling for his YouTube channel to be taken down. They wanted him to pay money towards charity for cancer. People just wanted to see Boogie face some kind of consequence for faking cancer all these years. He didn't have polycythemia vera. He had polycythemia, which is commonly associated with having a weight problem. It is not cancer like the vera, with Boogie claiming that if it wasn't treated, it would turn into polycythemia vera. That basically means that Boogie thought that because he could get cancer, that he can go around the internet acting like he's had it. Even when Boogie was claiming he had cancer, he wasn't seeking any kind of treatment, not doing anything to get his health in order. It was all just a massive excuse for terrible behavior. I'm being completely serious when I tell you Boogie could get legitimate, actual stage 4 cancer, and no one would care. There would be a large majority of people that would say that's karma, because this is just absolutely disgusting. If you would have told me 10 years ago that Boogie2988 would fake cancer for pity and cash, I would have called you crazy. The downfall has been one of a kind, and believe it or not, it still wasn't over. Being as Boogie had just faked cancer, people were questioning everything in his life. One of the major things people were questioning was Boogie's accusations of SA against his parents. Boogie alleged some pretty terrible things against his parents, and has in the past used that as an excuse for shitty behavior as well. Well, after he faked cancer, people thought that this could very well be faked too. And during the next episode of his podcast, he was confronted on this, where he had his biggest meltdown of all time.
I know you can't talk about your sister. You said you would talk about your dad and mother all day. So will you address those issues? Because
yes, my mother twisted my balls. That's part of the abuse, and she twisted my balls.
Okay, but then well, let's not talk about any of it.
No, my dad in front of me and showed me and asked me if I wanted to join in and encouraged me to. And I did.
Okay, no.
There, can we be done? Can we be done with it?
We're done with it. We're done with that conversation. I don't.
Thank you.
We're done with that conversation.
I find it very hard to believe that this is real, because almost everything else in Boogie's life isn't. For Christ's sakes, he got big off the internet by playing a character who raged, and he just got caught lying about cancer. You can't blame me for thinking maybe he's overreacting here, or that maybe him and Keemstar had agreed towards something like this panning out. What muddies the water even more is the many lies that Daniel Keem has told on the podcast. Keemstar claims that the freakout was real, but Keemstar also claimed that he would no longer be appearing on the show. Keemstar also claimed that he would be firing Boogie in response to faking cancer. None of that happened. Instead, Danny decided to concoct some punishment for Boogie to endure, aka milk more views out of the situation, eventually settling on Boogie getting a face tattoo that read liar, and true to his word, Boogie would go to an artist to get this tattoo.
Oh my god, it started. Ladies and gentlemen, the tattoo artist has started working on the R in the word.
Can we talk in a regular
liar.
voice?
Very good, Boogie. You're doing very good.
Whisper your baby.
Come on, Keemstar, call him your little man.
Come on, little boy. You're doing good, little man. You got this.
You like that, little man?
You got this, champ. Aw, you're such a good boy. Remember last time when you cried with the needle? This time you're taking it so good.
I love you, Daddy.
Is it?
Is it?
Yep, it's done.
Oh, shit.
Oh my god.
Except Boogie isn't true to his word. That tattoo is fake, just like everything else about Boogie, just like everything else about LolCow Live. In recent episodes, you can see that the tattoo has almost completely smudged off. I gotta say, I was pretty shocked that Boogie was taking it so well when he was getting tattooed. So I guess the fact that it was fake explains everything. The sheer amount of lies attached to Boogie2988 is staggering. It brings into question anything he has ever said. He has fallen so far that nothing is off the table. But if I'm being completely honest, I don't see how it could get any worse. Boogie has been thoroughly exposed for the awful person he is. His reputation will never be repaired, and he will fade into obscurity once again. I think that we have seen both the peak and the valley of his career. The peak of him winning a Gamer Award, and the valley of him faking cancer. I don't know where Boogie2988's story goes from here, but what I do know is that his life will never be the same.